Linda. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Sam?
I'm doing equally as well. It's been an interesting day already today. We decided to talk a topic connecting to your purpose, and we had a little bit of a discussion ahead of time. And you made a comment right before we went on that as we get a little bit older, we really need to really have a come to Jesus meeting, I guess, with our purpose.
And I think we do that through different stages in our life.
Right,
Um,
right.
I was talking with a young lady yesterday, someone I've known about 20 years, and we reconnected, and she's in her early 40s, and she's going through, you know, figuring out what's next for her.
Yep.
Um, and when we met her 20 years ago, she was going through a time where she was trying to figure out what her next steps were. So
Right.
it's not like you do this once.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
going to do this several times in your lifetime.
Yep.
I think if you're blessed, you will, because
Yeah.
it means that you're still growing and you're still looking for
Yeah.
those reasons to be out there. And so I think a lot of times people think they need to come up with their purpose and that's it.
Right, 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 right. And yeah, I would have to agree with that. And a lot of the gurus and stuff like that out there um, don't really come back to the fact that as life changes, your purpose changes.
Well, because things can change in a moment.
Yep.
And a lot of times, depending on what changes in your life, changes your purpose.
Right, right, right. It
And that's not just catastrophic things, but that's good things too.
oh yeah, 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 yeah. And I think a lot of times when we get to that place where we're thinking, why am I doing this? What am I doing? And we go back and we revisit our purpose statement or depends on number one, what state of mind, where we were at when we truly wrote that purpose statement, and what has changed that has basically maybe made some of that statement invalid. Maybe the circumstances or the situations that you wrote about in your purpose statement need to be updated. Uh, so it's funny, and sometimes you come back around to the things that you started with, right?
Yeah.
Um, Rita and I are talking about it. One of the things, one of the reasons, which that goes into purpose. Um, we do what we do was um, our family was in Ukraine, and when the war started, and then we prayed every day. We prayed for direction, for guidance. What steps do we take in our business? Basically, does she take this job or this job? All that kind of stuff. We based everything around that. Well, they came here in 2022, and I sit back and think about it. Here's the issue. We have been. It's getting them here was part of our purpose and our direction and our guidance. And we've kind of drifted from that. But here's the thing. Between the previous administration and the current administration, they can't figure out what to do with the folks who came here on Uniting for Ukraine. It was a poorly written law, and it evolved, and they never put an end game in place. Here's the end game. Go back to Ukraine.
Which is still at war.
It's not possible, right? I guarantee you, if the United States government sends any Ukrainians back to Ukraine, they will be persecuted. They'll end up on the front lines. They will become, uh, what used to be called cannon fodder. And you say, oh no, Zelensky's this and that. No, that's not going to happen. I'm telling you, Ukraine was one of the most corrupt countries in the world, period, the end. And probably still is. So now when we're talking about it, and I don't want to get on because I get very political when it comes to my family. But there is a bill and it's in the Judiciary Committee. But nobody really cares. Most of the people on Uniting for Ukraine, their time limit is up. You could get here for 2 years and extend for 2, so 4 years. So what do we do? And USCIS is so backed up, which is really stupid because it's all computerized.
Mhm.
And so anyway, I'm going to get off of that because there's such a long story that we don't really have time for that, right? But now, our prayers are different. We're on a deadline. Okay, they have worked since the day they got their work permit. Except for the youngest, she's in school, excelling in school. She's taken what are those AP classes?
Oh, the
Very
accelerated
intelligent young
classes.
lady, and unfortunately, at times, a typical teenage girl, right? Who has the Ukrainian background, and now she is fully involved in American society, and so, but they're on a deadline, and there's no response. So in we both know who Ed Rush is and God Talks
Mhm.
and stuff like that, and so we're working through the steps of how do we pray? What's the truth in the situation? What's the lie in the situation? Now, how do we pray? So we're working through that to make sure that we have a focus, because
Right.
what you put out to the universe is what you get back, right? And so, but that used to be a part of my purpose, and I know that I lost that, and I didn't put anything else in place. And
Be
so I'll be
Right,
honest,
because you achieved the one
yeah,
and didn't really think about, you know, it's kinda like that sigh of relief, "They're here, they're safe."
yeah, yeah, right, right,
And the then what that follows, like they say, it's not the destination, it's the journey. So when you get to that one destination,
it's time for a new journey.
it's time for a new journey. And I think a lot of us tend to hang out in the destination, and it's great,
Yep.
feel your joy, feel your relief, feel whatever you need to feel, but then remember that you can't stay there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right.
So now you, and whether your purpose is something as really vital as what you guys are trying to figure out,
Yep,
or whether it's something that you just, you're trying to figure out what you want to do
right.
over the next 5 or 10 years,
Yeah,
it needs to be given your focus.
yeah, you're right.
You
You
can't
know,
ignore it and keep putting it off.
yeah, and it's funny with this current situation. Um, I think I have some steps, to help them. They're very um, they keep things very close to the vest. My niece and her husband, and so I don't want to interfere. Um, on the other hand, the things that I can do put me in a position where I need to be political, and I know what happens to me when I do that, um, and I really have to tread a thin line there, and so it can become part of my purpose, but I do know that if I'm not careful, the political side of it will override, and that's happened to me before, and I don't want it to happen again. So, but when we talk about uh, um, purpose, we have to really connect to it. It has to be something tangible. So our purpose can't just be, I want to earn $1 million this year, right?
Right.
That's a goal, that's a target,
Hmm.
but it's not part of a purpose.
No.
And how do you connect to it? How do you connect to the things that um, are important and that are driving you every day? And it's interesting when I talk to people about their purpose. So y'all know, if you know me at all, you know that I love to do financial coaching. Um, and I would love to help every person that comes to me. I go completely broke because, you know, so where's the fine line? You know, um, and we were talking before we came on. Maybe that part of my coaching just becomes a tithing portion. Maybe that's what I do to tithe. And that's the first time that thought has come to me. So I am writing it down. Um, uh, and so I believe we get these inspirations uh, from God anyway. The financial coaching as a tithe, or gift.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, for me, uh, the the end result with a person in financial coaching is always, the goal is always financial freedom and financial independence. And I coach that way. Um, the down downside to it is I love the work. Okay, because I'm working with somebody now and going over their budget and all this kind of stuff. I spend several hours on it, looking at it. What can we do here? What can we do there? And uh, so just the hour that you spend coaching somebody and training and mentoring and teaching, because a financial coach is not a coach.
Right.
It is, you coach, you mentor, you train, you teach, and sometimes you scold. you know and and so so that's the meeting is the fun part, and then you have the work side of it. And so and really that goes against my disc profile also, because there has to be some C in there. And I'm an IDS. My C is so low on the spectrum, but then to sit down and go through somebody's budget, I love it. So, but I think what you mentioned at the beginning before we started is I really need to look at the what do I want to do in my business to generate an income, and should I put the financial coaching side as part of my tithing and take on a client or two here and there?
And when we're looking at how we connect our purpose and how we frame it, what I have found is that because I love the coaching aspect of what I do,
Hmm.
if I take the monetary need to get paid out of the equation,
Hmm.
I can focus more on the person and on the client. And when they see you connecting with them as a person,
Right.
now I'm getting referrals from people
Yep.
that I've been tithing my time to, and they're sending me to other people who are paying.
Right.
And I think sometimes, especially when we're stuck in survival mode, which a lot of us are right now,
Hmm.
it's difficult to get past that I need the funds. And
Right.
whether you realize it or not, then you probably exude panic
Hmm.
and that desperation. And
Yep.
nobody wants to work with someone who's desperate.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Um, even if they're not paying you.
Yeah.
And that's because the energy has to be, if you're whatever you're helping someone with, I know one of the reasons Sam was so helpful to me is because he was very calm, he was very factual. It wasn't, gloom and doom, and it wasn't, do whatever you want. And it was,
Hmm.
the energy was very soothing.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think when you're around finances, that's pretty important because finances are so emotionally charged.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
And so,
Well, and you tie that back to what you do, and you know, you can't be in a panic when you're working with somebody.
no,
Um, and getting paid for what we do has got to be so far removed from our thought process while we are working with somebody. If it's not, and our finances are okay, this person paid me so much money, or is going to pay me so much money, or is going to do this, or is going. you you miss things.
Right.
You know, you really do.
Well,
Um,
and especially in any kind of coaching situation,
mhm,
when we're working with our client, we need to be giving our full attention
mhm,
to our client. And if in the back of our mind we're worrying about whether we're getting paid enough
mhm.
or where the next bill's getting paid from,
Right,
we are not doing justice to our client.
right, right.
And I think that goes, whatever the business is.
Yeah,
If the guy's out here painting the house and he's worried about does he have enough money to go get the next few gallons of paint to finish, and
right.
he's not concentrating on what he's doing, he could fall off the ladder, he could make a mistake, he could paint the thing the wrong color.
Yep.
Maybe he forgot to go to the HOA and get the okay to use the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
color again, and
yeah. Right, right.
all the things that get involved.
Yeah,
Um,
there is. Yeah. And if you're distracted by the outside forces like that, especially in a coaching situation,
yeah.
if you've hired a coach or you're working with a coach, you should be able to tell in the first few minutes of a conversation where that coach's focus is, and if it's obvious that the focus is on getting paid,
Hmm.
then you probably need to find a new coach.
Right.
Um, and and I'm not. Um, there's a lot of good coaches out there, but there's a
Yeah.
lot of people who paid $39.95 and they are now a life coach and they are now, they took a 20-minute course for $39.95. That's $39 and 39, 95 cents, not 3,000. Um, and did they do the work to get there? And so the whole goal behind that model is to generate income fast. And so you have to shortcut everything.
Mhm.
And I've seen folks like that, and I've had people who, yeah, I worked with this coach and that coach, and I said, well, what was the experience like? Well, I'll never hire a coach again. I said, why? Well, because all they did was tell me what I needed to do.
Yeah, that's not coaching.
That's not coaching. No, that could be mentoring.
Yeah.
It's some of that is what I do when I work with somebody financially,
Right.
and that's a necessity. But when it comes to financial coaches, anybody who says that they're a pure financial coach, that's not possible. I've been doing this a lot of years, and you do a lot of mentoring, you do teaching, and is it necessary for the folks to know when you're switching modes? Yeah, pretty much. But once you've worked with them a couple times, they know that okay, we're out of the coaching side of it. But it's interesting. You and I have spent a lot of money to become certified in a lot of different areas. Not a lot, but in areas that are important to us. And we have mentors ourselves.
Hmm.
And so if you go to hire a coach, whether it's for financial or whether it's for um, finding that self care that you need, how to take care of yourself, how to take care of others when you're a caretaker. Um, uh, I just lost my train of thought. Wow, maybe I'm going to need a caretaker. That whole thought just went away. I have no idea where it just went poof right out of my mind.
Well, one of the things you need to realize when you're working with a coach or a mentor is that they should also have a coach or a mentor.
That's where I was going with it.
I thought so. I thought so.
Yeah, and you know, we've worked with people that we know who their coaches are,
Hmm.
and and if you're working with anybody, um, any coach, any life coach, any financial coach, self care, any coach, the first thing you should ask them when you're interviewing them, because it's two-way interview, or should be,
It should be.
is
Yeah.
who's your coach, who's your mentor. Um, so so yeah, and I know Linda and I both have coaches, we both have mentors, and
Hmm.
we are constantly growing, constantly improving. Um, but I do realize when we came up with this topic today, I really have to revisit. My wife and I are taking some time together next week, and that's one of the main goal is to relax and reset.
Hmm.
But at the end point, it's we need to redefine our purpose. And here's the thing: when you take that time to reset. Don't just there's how to explain this properly. The first couple days, we are probably just going to flat relax.
Yeah.
I'll take a notebook with me. I have two books that I'm taking with me. One is God Talks with Ed Rush, and the other is Sinek's Start with Why.
Yeah.
And because I need to reset.
Hmm.
And, we all have that one person that is somewhere in our life will say, that sounds really stupid, or that's not a wise thing to do, or that's a great thing. How can I support you? And you can get that from the same person. And so when you have that person that say, hey, yeah, let's walk that path together. Now you're on the right track,
Hmm.
right? And so I would I'm looking to relax, but I'm also looking to grow.
Well, and I think as we're contemplating changes and relooking at our purpose, you do need to relax first, because otherwise your mind's going to be closed. You'll be stuck in the tension that you've been carrying, and you need to be open to hearing
Mm-hmm.
the voice, the ideas. That you need to be open to receiving the things. And it's like you start off with a mini brainstorming session, and you just every idea comes, and you make a note of it. You filter later, but just let everything that's coming come, capture it in whatever way you can.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go through and say, yeah, this makes sense. No, that doesn't. And if something keeps poking at you, even if it doesn't make sense, take a good look at it and see why it's poking at you.
Yeah. 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 When you get an idea like financial coaching as my tithe and gifting, I probably should look at that a little harder. I always take stuff like that comes out of a conversation, especially a conversation with you, because we both come up with different things, when we've done this that are like, oh, that's a good idea. And so um, uh, that would totally take the focus out of my financial coaching. That it would be strictly on, yeah, this is, I can already see something developing. But you're right. We have to do that brainstorming session. Where do we go from here? What do we do? I mean, I've had to make some changes. For the longest time, I go to sleep with noise, background noise. When I was single, before I met Rita, um, the TV was always on. Um, and if I wanted to go to sleep real fast, I put The Hunt for Red October on. One of my favorite movies, Sean Connery and Hunt. But I can almost do the dialogue from memory. All right, and because of that, the focus, my mind would go to what's coming next, rather than all the crap that was going on in my life. And so that's not necessarily a good thing. And so I got to a point where I was going to bed with earbuds in, and there's probably a dozen or more comedy routines on Dry Bar Comedy there. So it's clean comedy, it's funny, that I could probably do, but it puts me back to sleep. So here are a few. It's been probably a couple months now. I switched from that, and I listened to some soothing music and subliminal messages. And so, and there's something about, I don't know, you may know more about this than I do. And we have an appointment in May to go to the, Sarah, is it Sarah, what's
Sarah
Sarah said?
Sarah said.
Yeah. Yeah. and in May sometime. And uh, some of them are certain frequencies that the brain reacts. I don't understand all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And it's really kind of hard to describe.
it is.
And, you know, I was thinking it'd be like music, but it's like out of tune.
Yeah. But it's once I get into it, I am really, I relax. And I'll be honest with you, I have not slept this good in years, even with the, the music playing in the background, or whatever it is that's playing in the background. And between some of the physical struggles and stuff like that I have, um, I would sleep for maybe 2 hours at a time max, but now I'm sleeping 4 or 6 hours at a time.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
yeah, and so it's, to me, it seems to be helping, and it has changed. You would think listening to comedy would make you, a little happier and stuff like that, but it doesn't. But this seems to change my mood. So,
Yeah.
I'm in a better mood when I wake up.
And I fall asleep listening to white noise. So
Yeah.
I have rain and thunderstorms because I love a good thunderstorm.
Yeah.
And but if I have my fan on, then I don't need that because the fan's the white noise. It's just
Yeah.
I'll be going to Turning Point and I'm sharing a room, so I won't be able to have my
Oh no.
my white noise. Silence doesn't work so well. So
when is Turning Point? It's coming up, isn't it?
yeah, 22nd, 20. Yeah.
That's next week.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, we did this titled it "Connecting to Your Purpose." It takes thought process. It takes more than your own thoughts and processes. Linda and I can help you with any of that, because we're very good sounding boards. Linda's focus is self-care, and you can get so focused on what you think you should be doing, on your purpose, on your targets, your goals, and your direction, that you forget what you're doing to your body when you don't take care of yourself. You forget what you're doing to the mind when you don't take care of yourself. And so Linda is extremely qualified and efficient and proficient coach in those areas. I've put our email address in the comments. It's balancingact2024@gmail.com. If you have any questions for either one of us, if you have questions about your finances or financial coaching, and don't take me at my word that that's going to be the tithing thing, but it may be. But if you want to reach out to one of us, or both of us, for any type of guidance or direction when it comes to your purpose, in your finances, or if you're a caretaker and you're struggling taking care of yourself, you definitely need to talk to Linda. So I would encourage that. Find your purpose, and it is a living, breathing document once you write it down. And
it changes. It's a lot of items in it will change. And the thing that to me is the most important is when you write it out or say it out, how do you feel? If it doesn't make your heart sing, then you probably haven't nailed it yet.
Right. And just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean that that's what you should turn into a business.
Right.
Because a lot of times people are passionate about things and then they turn it into a business, and it becomes work.
It becomes work. It becomes a job. And if that doesn't bother you, that's fine. But I know, like when I was doing photography, I thought I was just going to get to spend all of my time with doing the photographs. And I was a one-person shop, so I was doing the
Yep.
marketing, the billing, the accounts receivable, accounts payable,
All of it.
networking,
Yeah.
all of that, and it turned into a job.
Yeah.
And a lot
Yeah.
of
I
the
have
enjoyment went out of it.
a buddy who just moved. He's north of Colorado Springs now, Don Kendrick. And I don't know that I've seen any of your photography work.
Oh,
Um, but I've seen Don's, and then we have a lady here in the chamber, Amy Chirinos, and she's very good. She's probably one of the best street photographers.
oh, how fun. Yeah.
Her work is phenomenal. Um, but Don, I've seen some of his stuff. It's like, how did you capture that, right? And so when we went to church together. He's retired military, but he was in, I don't know. He financially it was better for him to move to Colorado than to stay here. Something to do with the house in her. So like I don't know what the whole story was, but that was, and I probably still is Don's biggest deal is that he's a one-man shop,
Mhm.
right? And so to market it, who do you trust with the marketing? And he was with like some photography group, but it really, he didn't feel like he was getting value. His website is pretty nice, but it's not generating any income.
Right.
And so, and I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to reach out to him because I haven't seen any of his photographs online either. So he used to post some stuff on Facebook and LinkedIn and stuff like that, but he does a phenomenal job. And there are people out there that if all he had to do was take the pictures, and he had a whole, marketing team and stuff like that behind him, he'd be in seventh heaven. So
Most definitely. But, like anything else, we have to look at whether our purpose is fulfilling us.
Mhm.
If we are relying on it to fulfill our finances,
right.
is that feasible? And, because you can still do your purpose, whether it's financially, not everybody's purpose brings money.
Right. Exactly.
And
That's right.
so that doesn't mean you can't fulfill your purpose. It just means you need to have something in the wings that keeps the food on the table and the bills paid.
Yep. So this has been an interesting discussion today, Linda. You're coming into springtime and you're going to be hit with the allergies pretty bad. I've already started getting hit here.
Yeah, me too.
Use
the raspy voice.
Yeah, and folks, neither one of us are sick. We just have allergies. So we thank you for bearing with us. And if you have any questions or comments, please reach out to us. Either drop something in the comments here or reach us at balancingact2024 at gmail.com. We thank you for being with us today.
All right, everybody, have a great one.
Yep, y'all be safe.